Hello, everyone. Glad you could make it. My name is Leonora Afonso, and I am your host for today. Welcome to a new edition of the Integrative Human Health Day. Thank you for being here with us today. This edition is a bit different this year, as it is happening completely online. This is the third edition of the event, and this year the topic is Challenges and Opportunities in Personalized Diagnostics. In the next few hours, we will discuss three main themes: self-diagnostics and online healthcare, diagnostics and the emergence of digital health records, and how did COVID-19 impact the domain of diagnostics. Today's event counts with the participation of four amazing speakers from different fields connected with healthcare system and research centers. For the next 2 hours, we will debate three topics mentioned before in a roundtable format. As I moderate the conversation, I invite you, our audience, to direct your questions and comments to the chat box of the platform. We will do our very best to answer your questions at the end of each panel. Please notice that there is a 10-second delay between us, the panel, and you, our audience at home. This makes it very difficult to use the microphone, and because of that, we appreciate if you mute your microphone during the total duration of the event, and we encourage you to use the chat box to communicate and intervene with your questions and comments. And before we start the roundtable, I would like to introduce you to Dr. Vincent Dessen. He is the president of the Swiss Integrative Center for Human Health since 2019. At the same time, he is general manager of Eraus Materials in Yverdon, a company specialized in manufacturing microcomponents for the medical industry. He is also sitting at boards of startups and of IPARC Swiss Technopole. Also, he is the delegate of Chamber of Commerce and Industry of the Canton de Vaud. Dr. Dessen, please, when you're ready.
Thank you, Leonore. Ladies and gentlemen, speakers, guests in your names and functions, it is my pleasure to welcome you to this online 2020 and third edition of our Integrative Human Health Day, despite the very challenging circumstances we're all going through, and I'm looking forward to upcoming interesting discussions and opinions on the exciting topic of the day, challenges and opportunities in personalized diagnostics. Our annual event is of major importance for us to gather people, collaborators, partners, and experts from various backgrounds to share the latest developments on the subject SICK is dedicated to exploring and advancing. I'm delighted that this key event can take place after all, and thrilled by the new digital solutions we are offered to make the impossible possible. Today, more than ever, our strategic involvement in the megatrend of diagnostics is of crucial importance, and so is the need for a national competence center in this domain, for Switzerland to strengthen its key position on the world map. For 3 years now, SICK has been convinced and fully involved in the importance of diagnostics, initially in the context of personalized medicine, the medicine of the future. Now, COVID-19 and the resulting world and historical crisis unfortunately shows us that the future is already today. Diagnostics is not anymore only a tool to improve the future of medicine, it is also the first weapon at our disposal when facing such an acute international sanitary, societal, and economic crisis. Over the past few months, our center has massively focused its efforts on contributing to the resolution of this crisis. Our strong reactivity and breadth of competencies have served a very quick implementation of a COVID-19 diagnostic test validated by Swissmedic. SICK not only adapts quickly, it also commits to improving diagnostics by pursuing long-term research, in particular with saliva tests for Alzheimer as well as COVID-19. Our team of scientists is convinced by the fact that a better access and a simplification of testing processes will actually lead to better patient care and more generally to better health management. In essence, this is the reason why SIG has been actively pursuing a national recognition as a technological competence center in the domain of diagnostics. We shall know before the end of the year if we will become the 6th national competence center. So as you will have understood, this event addresses not only a subject of major importance for mankind, but also the purpose of. So I'm very much looking forward to listening to all the debates and each speaker's point of view during this round. I'm convinced that the discussions will be fascinating and that the multidisciplinarity of our speakers, as well as that of our various approaches to the topic, will generate fruitful exchanges between political, real, scientific, academic, and medical spheres. Thank you very much for your time. I wish you a good digital and safe.
Thank you so much, Dr. Vincent, for your kind words. Your words were very welcoming. I will kindly ask speakers to mute their microphones if they are not using them, so we can have a better quality of sound. Thank you so much. And that was really great. Thank you. Now, Dr. Jean-Marc Brunner. He's the CEO of the Swiss Integrative Center for Human Health since 2014. After having been one of the main actors of the birth of the company, he is also responsible for more than 10 years of industrial relations and technology transfer at the University of Fribourg. Dr. Brunner, go ahead. The floor is yours.
Thank you for your nice introduction. I will share with you a small presentation about what we do in the Swiss Integrative Center for Human Health and what are the next steps during the following month. So the Swiss Integrative Center for Human Health is clearly a bridge between academia and industry. We work hand in the hand with academia because we support them for fundamental research, but we help also researchers to do continuing education and finalize the master's student in the center. We work also together with industry thanks to the industrial division of Swiss Smart Diagnostics. I will present after more in the details the mission of Swiss Smart Diagnostics, but we have also R&D and innovation programs that are unique in the center. This is the timeline of Swiss Smart Diagnostics and also the center. From the start of the center, we was focused in personalized medicine, and from the start we hire person that they are able to do fundamental research in the area of saliva test in a non-invasive way for Alzheimer, thanks to the Dr. Lavinia Alberi. Then we move more and more in direction of diagnostic, and we decided to launch last year Swiss Smart Diagnostics. From the start, the target of Swiss Smart Diagnostics was to create R&D project, and from the start we have a strong interaction with company in the domains. We got 13 letters of support for this program, and we got also a support by politicians. Swiss Smart Diagnostics is the main part of the application as competence center at national level. Then COVID arrived. Thanks to the competence that we have in the center, we move very faster in this direction, and we create a platform, a satellite platform of the cantonal hospital, and we provide 7,000 COVID tests for the cantonal hospital. It's important to know that this approach that we create in the center can be very interesting for the rest of the nation. We can help other structure in Switzerland to arrive to perform diagnostic test based on the RT-PCR in the rest of Switzerland. It's also important to know that during the crisis of COVID, we don't stop to work for the other R&D project you have in these graphical images, the new opportunity that we open each month. You can see after the summer, the impact of COVID was greater on the R&D project. But it's important to note from the last year, we do 3 times more project in InnoSwiss and InnoCheck domain. Now, for the implementation of the COVID test, we was very faster. In 2 weeks, we got the validation of InnoSwiss, and then in the month of June, we start the activity of test for the cantonal hospital. And you can see in the down images, we start at the start with just 2 days per week for test, and then we move very faster. And today we perform each day the test for detect COVID in the population. And we move also very fast from the 90 sample day maximum that we can absorb, that we can perform, to the 118 sample day. And is really the taking home message of this slide is the faster of the center for implement this type of test. These are just numbers that they show how we are really, we follow with this crisis with 14 persons that are involved in this project, and we performed 15% of the total test in Fribourg today, and 95 of the results that we create are directly usable results for the cantonal hospital. Now, what is interesting of this exercise of COVID, let's say, is that we acquire a lot of competence, and today we have a big advantage to have 2 sort of supplier for reactive. This is a real great problem for the moment, and the advantage that we have with the approach that we develop in the center is that we can quickly hiring additional technician, and in 1 week we can adapt to the needs of the population. In the future, we will automatize the system so we can increase the quantity of tests done in the center each day. And we have 2 main projects. One is focused on multiplex test for COVID and influenza, and saliva test in order to simplify the test of COVID. Now, in the next month and in next year, we have several axes of development. The first, the more important, is the recognition as technology competence center of national importance by the SERI. COVID-19 is for us not an opportunity, but a demonstration how we can be faster in order to develop, implement new tests. And thanks to this technological platform, in fact, we can now develop a new R&D project, for example, in cardiovascular disease. We open also a new platform for communication that is, the name is Connect People with Science, because during the crisis of COVID, we discovered that the people was completely lost because they have a lot of information, and the mission of this platform is really to help people to better understand the problem of COVID now, in the future, in general, what is science, what is a test, what is a RT-PCR test, etc. We are developing also a new branch in the south part of Switzerland in the cardiovascular domain, thanks to the collaboration with Cardio Centro and the Foundation for Research in Cardiovascular Disease. And we are also proud to support the Brain Fit for Life activity. The head of this project is Lavinia Alberi, that she will be also present after in the discussion, and is now supported by InnoSwiss, and we are very happy about these results. So thank you for your attention, and have a good continuation of the meeting.
Thank you so much. Fantastic. You gave us a lot of things to think about, and we could make a roundtable just of comments of many of the things you said. So thank you so much. We now move forward, and I present you Dr. Philippe Guibert. Dr. Philippe works as the regional medical director, and he's also Europe Health Consulting Practice at International SOS in France. He is an international health consulting expert with more than 25 years of experience in the private sector. Dr. Guibert drives the development of new practices and offers high-level health consultancy to international SOS clients. Dr. Guibert, whenever you are ready. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you and good afternoon. I may have trouble opening my file, so I will run this presentation very quickly as an introduction. And again, I thank you for inviting me. I'm a physician. I'm working for International SOS. So those of you who don't know who we are the world's leading health and security services company. So we're helping organizations precisely deal with their people wherever they are in the world in order to protect their health and the security. And obviously, I mean, the topic of COVID has been extremely important to us since the very beginning. We have a clinic in Wuhan, so we knew quite ahead of time what was happening in China. But I would like to reflect on today are three topics related to health technology that really were driven by this crisis, and what was really pushed to lead innovation with regards to these services. So the first one is regards to mobility. We have, we're dealing with travelers, we're dealing with managers, and we're dealing with employees. So if I take the example of managers, as you may understand, managers have been within organizations dealing with the issue of putting in place the right measures across the organizations where they are, and measures appropriate to the impact and the severity of COVID where it happened and given the environment. And one of the main issues was related to the quality of information, having information appropriate to take action, but also having the right plans in place. And when it came to putting in place diagnostic tests, and as you know, this is a topic that has came quite recently in discussion for managers, a lot of issues came in, actually getting to know which were the right tests available in the market, which were the ones that were appropriate, and how to put in place the right procedure to allow their staff having access to this test, and how to interpret the results. So there was something that was initiated with the availability of PCR tests in many places, but now with the availability of rapid diagnostic tests, and particularly the antigen tests, organizations do really want to implement these tests for themselves and have programs in place to allow their employees who are willing and voluntary to be tested to have access to this test, and again, and to have the ability to have these test results interpreted appropriately so that the right measures can be taken for themselves, but also for their families and their fellow colleagues. So in a way, this crisis has pushed us to develop an integrated platform to allow this information, these plans being put together as one repository, as a digital platform available to these managers, and to make sure that they would have the ability not only to monitor the crisis anywhere in the world and adjust the response to the impact and the severity of this event. And again, I mean, this is where we do see the relationship with this rapid diagnostic test, because obviously this is the topic of today these days. The second point I'd like to mention, and what has really pushed us to drive innovation, is related to teleconsultation. As you know, teleconsultation is part of telehealth. This is one of our business as an international assistance company, a medical assistance company. And obviously, uh, people no longer want to call us for information and be supported. They want to have access to specialists wherever they are in the world, and have these consultations being organized as quickly as possible through digital means and digital consultations. So something that was developed the previous years that already did exist in a few countries was really driven for innovation for the past months, where we doubled the number of countries where teleconsultation is available. Today we are able to manage teleconsultation in 32 countries in the world, and the limiting factor, I guess, is not the technology, as you can guess. It's really the regulation that is very specific in some jurisdictions, allowing a practitioner to deliver a consultation through digital and virtual means, and making sure that this has been approved, and for this physician to also make a prescription that would be recognized by a third party, such as a pharmacist. So we really see this crisis as a catalyst for us to push forward this agenda of teleconsultation, and make sure that wherever people are in the world, and for good reason, not willing to go to healthcare provider, traditional healthcare provider that may be stranded, or where there may be a surge of activity, or they may be fearing the risk of being contaminated while visiting these hospitals or these clinics. Teleconsultation now allows these people to have access to these services through technology in countries where we offer it. So again, I mean, we see this as crisis has been a strong catalyst for us to push this agenda any further, and also making a connection with tests and availability of tests in laboratories. We have a lot of requests now for being tested, not only for communities, for groups, for executives, but also for travelers. So for us, having access to this information and coordinating these access to these diagnostic services globally has been a strong driver to push this teleconsultation agenda any further. The third point and last point I'd like to mention that has been really driven by this crisis are the management of travelers. As you all know, today, travel is only possible where flights are available, or in countries where these travel corridors or bubbles have been established between two countries. But the situation is not sustainable in a way. Uh, Travelers have to show evidence of a PCR, a negative PCR test, made within the 72 hours most of the time. And today, there's a lot of issue with the recognition of these certificates. Are they valid? Are they false? And are they appropriate to allow resuming traveling? So what we've been doing at International SOS, we've been creating a coalition with two other organizations, the International Chamber of Commerce and SGS, which is well known in Switzerland, together as a coalition to create a tool that would be a compliance certificate that travelers could get on their telephone, and with a simple QR code that is being connected with the laboratory where the test has been performed, a laboratory that has been accredited and validated, of course. Then this QR code would allow travelers to be recognized in airports or by airlines at registering in airports, and before flying, making sure that for good reason they can board and they can enter in a new country without, of course, disseminating any confidential personal information, and all of this under the blockchain architecture. So again, this is extremely innovative, and we are convinced that this would allow a resuming travel in confidence, because travelers could, with this app, and it's been piloted by a few airlines so far, and where in partnerships or memorandum of understandings have been signed with large airports organizations in the world, precisely to put this in place, because that's the only way in the short term to allow travelers to resume travel, displaying evidence of a negative diagnostic for COVID today, and then resuming travel in confidence. The future may be that this compliance pass may be used for any other diseases. Think of yellow fever in Africa. Again, I mean, evidence of vaccination could be available on this passport, but that could be the case for any other infectious diseases in the context of an outbreak, where travelers or anyone who's moving would be requested to display evidence of a negative diagnostic for a particular disease. So in a nutshell, and just to sum up, I mean, this crisis has really been a catalyst for us to push forward these services for managers, allowing them to have access to information, including recently on tests and diagnostic tests, for employees also to have access to teleconsultation services, where again, I mean, the availability of tests wherever they are in the world is available through our services, and finally to allow travelers in the near future to resume travel in confidence with the right tests. So as we said earlier, an opportunity for development may be a new pathway of technological innovation that is just the beginning, but we are convinced that in order to resume and to establish confidence for employees at the workplace and on the move, technology is extremely critical for us to embrace, and that this journey that we've started.
Thank you so much, Dr. Guibert. For someone like me that does not come from this field, hearing you speak made me open a lot of windows in my head, and it was really, really interesting. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
This will finalize this part of the event. I will stop the broadcast now for this part, and we will move forward to the roundtable in a few seconds. So see you in a little bit. Don't move.